Greetings, everyone. It is a warm first day of August here in southeast Georgia. Got some interesting news I just want to talk about real quick, and then we can start listening to the radio itself. First thing I want to cover is a distraction. So if you remember a couple months ago, about 3 months ago or so, there was a executive order signed out by the Trump administration saying, hey, pharmaceutical companies need to lower drug prices. But if you really actually read the text of it, it was putting pressure on pharmaceutical companies that sell drugs here in America to raise their prices over in Europe, to put them on equal footing, because apparently under their logic that America is subsidizing the rest of the world's drug costs, which actually doesn't make sense, because these pharmaceutical companies are here to make money, and if they can't make money in a foreign market, they just won't go into the foreign market. They don't have the goodness in their heart to just, give away free medicine or highly subsidized medicine on someone else's dime, unless that someone else's dime is the country's government that is, the country's government that is providing the medicine to their people. Like, that's the only time you ever actually see that happen. So there has been an updated executive order from the administration saying, hey, y'all haven't done anything to lower drug prices here in America or raise them in Europe. So we're going to give you an extra 2 months to really try hard, or we're going to use every tool in the administration to punish these drug companies. Even though 90 days ago he said, y'all have 90 days to lower your drug prices or raise them in Europe, or we're going to use all of our tools in the administration to punish the companies. 90 days is up and all they got is an extension. So this is a distraction from the real issues that are plaguing the Trump administration. The Epstein incident, which is still ongoing, it looks like it's more of a cover-up than before, and it looks like Trump and maybe some of his very close allies are a lot more implicated than previously thought. And then the big thing of the day, which we will probably hear on the news, is the tariffs. All of the 90-day extension, relief is done, with the exception of Mexico. Mexico got another 3 months to be bribed and to provide bribes and tribute to the American state. Sorry, the eyes on the highway. This person going so slow. Mexico got another 3 months to figure out their tribute policy, while most other countries in the world, their 10% tariffs are going up 20%, 25%, and huge tariffs on raw materials across the board, like copper. So that's the real thing. So enjoy watching the stock market drop this morning. It's going to be fun. I moved my TSP over to the G Fund 2 days ago in anticipation of this, because, hey, as a military guy who paid in the TSP, I don't want to lose a bunch of my money like I did during COVID and then have to wait for it to come back. So it's sadly one of those things where I hate the stock market, but I am in the system trying to play the game. So it's one of those great contradictions of being an American. So let's jump into the news.
Has it vindicated to some extent?
Well, he's getting what he wants, but it's not clear that what he wants is good for the U.S. economy. As one economist told me yesterday, tariffs are modestly weakening the economy for no good reason. It might not drag us into a recession, but it certainly seems like it might raise prices, slow things down. One other big legal question also looms over all of this. A federal court ruled earlier this year that many of these tariffs are illegal. The administration appealed, and so an appeals court heard the case this week. So these tariffs may be in jeopardy depending on how that ruling goes.
Andreas Daniel Kurtzleben, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Let's hear how Americans across the country see President Trump's new taxes on imported goods.
First to Denver, Colorado, and Democratic Mayor Mike Johnston.
Our economists are projecting this would cost the city about 11,000 jobs in Denver and probably drive $30 to $50 million of decrease in sales tax revenue just to the city alone. I think it could be almost $1 billion in lost economic activity next year.
Mayor Johnston says Denver has a housing crisis, and he's concerned about the rising cost of materials to make more homes.
But if we can't keep up with supply of housing, then it becomes unaffordable for teachers or nurses or firefighters to live in our city anymore, and that has huge impact on commute times, on traffic, on climate, and all the things that make Denver Denver. So yeah, we are fighting hard to undo the escalating expenses in someone's kitchen counter right now, and this is going to just add to them.
That may be true even if it's a domestically made kitchen counter, since tariffs tend to raise the cost of all products. In Kentucky, Shelby Somerville is with Greater Louisville, Inc., the regional chamber of commerce.
We have a lot of heavy manufacturing companies here in Louisville, and a lot of the proposed or talked about tariffs would have implications on a lot of the businesses in our area. But what's even harder than adapting to that sort of policy change or tariff is really the uncertainty. So businesses can adapt to taxes and tariffs, but what they can't adapt to is something that's changing, every 90 days or every other day.
Ethan Karp is the CEO of Magnet, a company that advises manufacturers in Northeast Ohio.
Some of them have gotten new business and they're very optimistic. Some of them have lost business because it's export and the exports were being taxed. And most of them are in the tire kicker stage. They are being asked if they can provide new American business, but nobody's locked in those orders because nobody knows for sure what the tariffs are going to be. So if you believe they're going to be good for you and those orders are going to come through, you're very excited. If you don't, then you're frustrated with the turmoil.
Now let's go to Lansing, Michigan, the home of 2 General Motors plants and many other businesses. It's next to East Lansing, Michigan, the home of Michigan State University, and yet somehow the Lansing mayor, Andy Shore, managed to get elected even though he is a graduate of the arch-rival University of Michigan. Broad-minded voters, Mayor Shore. Good morning.
It's all true.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the program. Which parts of the executive order directly affect businesses in Lansing, so far as you can tell?
Sure. Well, we've talked in the past about the auto industry. As you said, we have two auto plants. We have a battery plant. So we're certainly concerned about cross-border parts and other things that are going to make cars more expensive. The more expensive a car is, the less people can afford it. We're concerned about shifts and layoffs with workers. But it's more than just that. It's general manufacturing. We have about $2 billion in development going on right now in Lansing. We're building thousands of units of housing. You just heard from the Denver mayor talking about housing. If we can't build it, then we don't have the supply, and then the demand is higher and prices are higher. So when you look at, we've got our finances set, and now aluminum and copper and steel, now those prices are uncertain. When you hear the tariffs going up, we do a lot of trade back and forth with Canada. We send there, they send here. It's right across the border. If you're in Detroit, you can see it out your window. And that's really concerning. Having those prices go up for development, for housing, for agriculture. Essex County has a huge greenhouse, and they send a lot of vegetables and things over, so people who want to eat their avocados and green beans and things, those prices are going to go up. And the commitment in the election was prices are going to go down, and now they're going to go up. These are all extremely concerning. For
Another lie.
I hear those concerns.
Another
and
campaign
lie.
lie.
I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Indiana. I talk to my family there. I know a lot of people there, and there are people who support this move, feel that the tariffs are necessary, and their general idea is that without so much foreign competition, without so much outsourcing, there would be more Midwestern jobs, more Midwestern auto jobs and other kinds of jobs. Do you accept that general proposition?
I think that in the short term, when they see their prices go up in the grocery store, when they see the prices go up for a variety of things in the economy, I think they're gonna be upset about that. We certainly want as many jobs as we can get. I mean, we've got a battery plant with 1,700 jobs that's about to open up. We're pushing for jobs, but if you say, we're not gonna trade with Canada anymore, it could be 3 years, it could be 5 years, and billions of dollars of investment to build something new here. And that's a long time, and that's a lot of money, and who's going to make that investment? So those jobs may not come, but the costs are going to go up, and that to me is a huge concern.
You just said a battery plant. That's for electric vehicles?
Originally, it's supposed to be for electric vehicles, but because of other policies, they're looking at, should they convert to different batteries? Should they convert to so they're actually figuring that out.
You're talking about the fact that this legislation that passed recently eliminates subsidies for EVs and other things. So you're facing several economic changes at once, and it sounds like you were attempting to lean into one economy as a city and as a region, and now you're discovering it's a different economy you're moving into.
Yep.
Well, we're attempting to be a diverse economy, to be honest with you. We've got 2 auto manufacturing plants. If somebody drives a Chevy Traverse, that was built in Lansing. If they drive the Camaro, that was built in Lansing. If they drive the CT5, built in Lansing. But we'd love to see your traditional gas cars. We'd love to see your EV cars. We'd love to see a diversification looking into the future economy. And again, if cars are more expensive, people aren't going to buy them. If the parts and the aluminum and the steel for development is more expensive, then you don't have the housing for the 1,700 jobs that we are bringing in. These are all part of the economy, and it's something where we trade back and forth with Canada pretty regularly. I talk to the mayor of Windsor all the time. If costs are more expensive, then these are harder things to do because it's more expensive, and we've got financing set. We have a $27 million performing arts center that we are building right now. When you hear that the costs could be more, that throws your finances out of whack, and we may not have the ability to build. So these are all the things that I'm concerned about.
Andy Shore is the Democratic mayor of Lansing, Michigan. Mayor Shore, thanks very much for your time. Good to talk with you again.
You bet. Go Blue.
Yeah, so, I mean, the mayor there really just, put it succinctly, and this is for one community in the United States that is an industrial hub, and what these tariffs are going to do to, his community, what it's going to do to the local economy, and therefore the effects on the greater economy, and how it's going to reverberate. This is absolutely insane. These tariffs are going to, in the short term, just weaken the American economy, and depending on what happens in the long term, over the next 3 or 4 years, it may completely shatter any hope of the American dream in this nation. I think tariffs are pretty dumb. If we use them to just fund import costs, and by that I mean the cost of detailing what is coming into and out of the United States, making sure that illicit items aren't, being trafficked across the border. I think that would be fine. It would just be one of the ways of showing hey, this is how we're paying for this. For the service, you got to pay for the service. It makes sense. In the same way that for your car registration, you pay the DMV a fee to keep your ability to keep your car registered, right? It's paying for the system to make sure that people are following the rules. This round of tariffs is not following the rules, or is not for the sake of trying to follow the rules and keep the system going with proper regulation. This is to impose a feudal system across the world at the behest of American billionaires. It's just crazy. Something I do want to note, which has been really a historical fact, in America and in Western Europe is when there's an economic downturn, the people who are, the working class of that country and the people who are at the bottom of the bottom, they are scraping by to survive. They're working 2 or 3 jobs to make sure their kid gets fed. Their outcomes tend to get worse. They suffer more. They make less money after inflation. They have less social safety nets, right, to help them from just having their lives completely fall apart. While the people on the top, the people at the very tippy top, tend to get a lot wealthier. And it's because they already have the money in the first place to take advantage of an economic downturn, They're able to use their wealth. They can sell off their stocks and consolidate businesses that are, in the red, that need to file bankruptcy, and they can scoop them all up and, cause these bigger and bigger monopolies to grow. They can lobby people in their governments here in the United States and over in, Europe to give them beneficial stimulus packages, right? I mean, we saw it back in 2008 where we bailed out the banks, or really, I guess it was 2009. But we bailed out the banks. The people who caused the crisis, the people who ruined the economy, we gave them money to try and fix the problem. And it made things worse. We got a single good, silver lining out of it, which is the CFPB, which is being torn apart by a current administration, right? But the people at the top were not punished; they were rewarded. They got huge bonuses out of the American tax dollars pocket, So we're going to see that again this time, because there is going to be an economic downturn. It may not be as big as 2008, or it may be a lot worse than 2008. It may be, COVID level recession, but instead of, a virus causing it, it's our own political stupidity and our own arrogance, and really the arrogance of our leaders to think that they can force other nations to bend to the will of American power, when there's a lot of other choices out there besides America. We don't really produce a lot, and what we do produce is really just end products that we then sell to Americans themselves based off of cheap goods, cheap raw materials. That's what I'm getting at. Cheap raw materials from other nations. Or we sell, foods and vegetables to our closest neighbors, Canada and Mexico, which are getting, the brunt of the tariffs. Luckily, Mexico's getting 3-month extension, like I said, but who knows what it will be in 3 months. So I'm worried. I'm really, really worried about what is going to be happening over the next year and over the next 5 years. We're probably going to see a lot of people in this country lose their jobs. And we're probably going to see assholes like Elon Musk make a lot of money because of it. Because they're going to be the ones who get bailed out by the federal government. And they're going to be the ones who are going to have the extra cash on hand to buy up all the failing businesses caused by these tariffs. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you all have a good weekend. And I hope the courts fix this tariff situation.